My life changed overnight. I was just living my life, all doing all the right things, living a good life, and my life changed overnight.
I'm Sarai Mitnick, and this is Seamwork Radio, where we tell stories about the surprising ways that sewing impacts our lives. Everything seemed to be going so well for Nia Kelley in 2014. She had a challenging IT career that she loved, and she was really excelling in it. She'd recently moved from Austin to Plano, Texas, which is near Dallas, and she was enjoying being close to a big city again. She was living with her boyfriend, Jason, and he was loving and supportive. And even with her demanding career, this former college fitness instructor found time to work out and maintain her health. It was then that something completely unexpected changed her world. At just 36, Nia suffered a stroke that would damage about a third of her brain, making basic tasks like speech and reading difficult. The road to recovery was long, but on that journey, Nia discovered new sources of creativity and hard-won lessons about ambition and just what she's truly capable of. Today, Nia shares her story with us. Nia had always been ambitious. She describes herself as inquisitive. She loves to ask questions and figure out how things work, and she loves to solve problems.
I love to solve problems. If I remember in elementary school and middle school, I love the word problems that we had to solve. Everyone can relate to the word problems, and I love them. I love them. Even now, I love them.
And Nia loved school. Early on, she thought she might want to be a teacher because she admired her own teacher so much, and she truly enjoyed learning. But as she went through high school, her curiosity and detail orientation led her to become more interested in computers and technology.
So I was an apprentice, an engineering apprentice for the Department of Defense in high school, and I had a mentor, and it was very rare to see female engineers at that time. So I was very lucky, and she was a person of color. So I was very lucky to have her as a mentor.
Nia had a close-knit family, and she always felt supported by her parents.
My parents came to all school activities, plays, award ceremonies. They just instilled a concept of excellence into everything that we did. And my mom always said, just do your best and you will never regret anything.
Maybe you've heard of the concept of a growth mindset. This idea comes from researcher Carol Dweck, who says there are two ways of looking at the world. People with a fixed mindset focus more on innate qualities, like whether they're smart or athletic, and they believe that these things are just who they are. Their abilities are fixed. People with a growth mindset, on the other hand, believe that if they work at something, they can change. So to cultivate a growth mindset, Dr. Dweck recommends praising kids, and even adults, for how hard they work at something, rather than how talented they are. It seems that Nia's mom was an expert at this.
My mom always said, if your best is an A, then go for it. I will not accept anything less. But if your best is a C and you had put all your energy and determination into it, and that is your absolute best, I will not be disappointed. But I always got straight A's.
After college, Nia landed a job in Austin, Texas with IBM. She absolutely loved it, and she excelled.
So I matriculated up the career path. So I had I was a software developer, a manager, people manager, project manager, a software architect. So many careers, many job functions, but I love them all.
In Austin, she also met a great guy named Jason. They dated for about 6 months, but he decided that he wanted to move back to his home state of Florida. Nia didn't want to leave Texas, so they decided to part ways.
In 2005, around Thanksgiving, I was having Thanksgiving with my best friend, And I said, Jason was the best boyfriend that I ever had. I wonder what happened to him. And like 2 weeks later, he emailed me and he said, I was moving and your card fell out of the box. And I said, I had been carrying your card around, wanted to see how you were doing. And he said, I finally got up the courage to email you. And we have been going strong ever since then.
In 2008, the recession hit, and Nia was laid off. She decided to take the opportunity to move from Austin to the suburbs of Dallas, since she liked being close to a larger and more diverse city. Here, she shifted her career to become a business analyst, which is the part of her career she loved most of all. She took a job as a consultant and often traveled to work with clients.
I love the analyst work. It was a perfect combination of solving business problems and merging the business audience to the technical audience, and I loved it.
That brings us to 2014. Nia was happy. She had her health, her relationship, and her career all in a city that she loved. It seemed that life couldn't be going any better, and the hard work and excellence her parents had instilled in her was really paying off.
And this is when I had my stroke.
It was July 22nd, 2014, a hot night in Texas. At 11:45 p.m., Nia took her birth control pill, the pill she says led to her stroke. Oral contraceptives do have a small but still significant risk of stroke, and Nia says she was one of the ones that was affected. She took the pill and went to sleep. The next day, she felt extremely fatigued, and Jason decided to just let her sleep.
On the 23rd of July, he went to work. He let me sleep, and he didn't know that I had a stroke. He thought that I was just tired, which I was. I was so tired, but when he came home from work that evening, he said, you were still sleeping, but I had just gone to the restroom, so I was able to walk and use the restroom, but I remember just feeling tired. And in my brain, I would say, I'm so tired. I will just rest. I will take tonight to dress, and then I will go to work in the morning. And all this was going on in my brain. I was not talking at all.
Jason didn't know why she was so tired, but he wanted to let her sleep, so he moved to the guest bedroom for the night. It was now the evening of July 23rd, and it had been about 24 hours since Nia had had her stroke. In all that time, she hadn't spoken at all.
So the next morning, July 24th, we had a storm overnight. So we lost power. And I remember waking up around 6 a.m.
Nia noticed that Jason wasn't in bed with her, so she got up to look for him. She found him asleep in the guest room, so she lay down with him.
It was around 6 a.m. He didn't have to be worked until 8. And usually I would have a conference call for my job at around 8. So we were sleeping, and next thing I know, it was around 7:45, and Jason woke up, and he said, oh, I'm late for work. And he just got up, got dressed.
Nia got up too and took a shower.
And in my mind, I said, I'm still tired, and I have to leave this meeting at 8. How would I do my work? So he was getting ready, and I was in the shower, and he said, okay, I will see you later. I'm going to work. And he ran out and he left.
Because Nia had slept so much and because Jason had been late for work, it didn't seem remarkable that over the last 20 hours or so, Nia hadn't spoken. Nia herself didn't even realize it. She just knew that she was still very, very tired.
In my mind, I know it was almost 8. My team were relying on me. And I got done with my shower. I put on underwear and my towel. And I said, I'm still tired. So I laid on the floor and went to sleep. And around 9:30, and I only had my underwear and a towel. And I said, I will go into the living room to get some sunlight. Maybe that will cheer me up, put me in the mood for my work.
So at 9:30, an hour and a half after Nia was supposed to start work, she headed into the living room.
And then the phone rang. And I didn't know how to answer the phone. And I said, something is really wrong. And I said, for a brief moment, I said, I think I should call 911. But I didn't know how to answer the phone. So my phone was ringing. And then I just sat on the couch with the phone in my hand. And I said, I know I want to call 911. This is an emergency. But I didn't know how to. And I said, I don't know how they're going to come for me. So then I went to sleep. And I said, maybe I will take this nap. And when I wake up, I will know how to call 911. So I was sat on the couch with the phone, with my towel and some underwear.
30 minutes later, Nia awoke again to the sound of the phone ringing in her hand.
I said, oh, okay, now I can tell whoever is on the line, I need some help. And I said, how do I answer this phone? I don't know. So I just started to press any button that I could. And my friend, my coworker and my savior, Mary, she was calling from Minnesota. She was my sales manager on my team. And I didn't know, but my work had called, my client had called 2 emergency meetings on Tuesday and Wednesday. And they were very worried because it was not like me to miss any work, no communication. So Mary called, and I remember her saying, "This is Mary, and your client from Atlanta is worried about you." In my mind, I said, I know who this Mary is, and my client, I know them. But Mary said that I was only grunting in the phone. And I remember her screaming, and she said, "I will call 911. And I said, "Oh, thank you, Mary," in my mind. "Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much."
Mary stayed on the phone with her while she called 911. She told Nia that they were on their way.
I remember hearing the door knock, and I said, "They were here." And I said, "Oh no, I only have underwear and a towel." So I remember running, sprinting to my closet. And I had, and keep in mind, this is July in Texas. It was a lot, like 100 degrees outside. I put on my best sweater, my favorite best sweater. And I put it on, and I said, my mom always said, wear your best underwear. If you have an accident, You want to have your best underwear. And I said, I don't have any best underwear.
While Nia struggled with her clothing, the knocks on the door got louder.
I said, I don't want them to break down my door. So I said, I had some jeans, and I didn't know how to put them on. I threw them in the closet. I said, I have to go like this with my sweater and my underwear and a towel. I will go right now. So I was able to go to the door downstairs, and I remember sitting on the stairs, and I said, and they were pounding, and I still had the phone with Mary on. And so I said, get your scouts together. They are coming. And I said, I took a few minutes it seemed like a few minutes to compose myself. And I unlocked the door, and 6 firemen were out there. And they came, and one of them said, "Ma'am, are you all right?" I shook my head no. And he said, "I will take you to the hospital. Thank you so much. But let me get some pants." So I was crawling up the stairs to get my pants, and he pulled me back down and put me on the stretcher. And I said, "Oh," and he cut my favorite sweater. Cut it up. and I just started to pray, and I said, I don't know how Jason will find me, but I know when I wake up, he will be there. And they took me, and then I went to sleep. So I don't remember the ambulance ride or anything. But when I woke up, Jason was there.
Coming up, Nia wakes up in the hospital and learns what's happened and what it's going to take to recover. And she also discovers a surprising form of therapy in more ways than one.
I said, this is very therapeutic for myself. Maybe others would like to learn the benefits of sewing.
If you're enjoying this podcast so far, you might really like joining in at the Seamwork community. In addition to this podcast, every month we create new sewing patterns, a video class, and a monthly digital magazine. When you become a member, you get access to all of that each month, plus you can hang out and talk in our private community forum. We're all really welcoming, and it's a great place to ask questions, post projects, or share your thoughts. Right now, podcast listeners can get a special discount of 50% off the unlimited plan. That gets you access to our full catalog of over 150 patterns, and you can download as many as you want, whenever you want. It's only $90 for a whole year of patterns, plus classes, videos, magazine articles, and access to the private community. Check it out at seamwork.com/go/podcast50, or look for the link in the show notes. In 2014, Nia Kelley felt like she was living her best life, with a strong relationship, good health, and a successful and fulfilling career. And then suddenly, she found herself being taken to the hospital, unable to speak, do simple everyday tasks, or even stay awake. When she woke up, her boyfriend Jason was there by her side.
Somehow he found me. And then he let me just know, "You had a stroke." And I said, "What is a stroke?" Every time I hear about the stroke, it's like a heart attack, or it's always in conjunction with the heart. And I was working out at the time, so since college, I was a fitness instructor. So I was in great shape. But I said, did I overwork myself with my job? I don't know what happened.
The outlook for Nia at this point was not good. She awoke unable to speak or write, and the entire right side of her body was paralyzed. It wasn't until she left the hospital and saw herself in a mirror that she realized the right side of her face was drooped.
I remember Jason and my mom and everyone they were just bawling. And the prognosis was, we don't know how you are going to wake up from this stroke, but the prognosis is not good. Maybe you will not be able to regain your strength on the right side of your body. Maybe you will not be able to talk. Prepare yourself, is what they were saying, for the worst. Because usually in these cases, especially without medical attention for 36 hours, usually the prognosis is death.
Luckily, Nia didn't learn this until later when her best friend told her what the doctors had said. At the time, she couldn't face it.
It took me about a year to see the images from my stroke. I didn't want to see them for my brain and MRI because I didn't want to have that in the back of my mind when I was trying to heal. 1/3 of my brain is damaged. My major impacts were to the Broca's area of the brain, which controls speech. But I was having hard time finding words. So it was called aphasia, word finding, and apraxia was just motor planning for the speech. Also, I was dealing with major fatigue and the sensation of the right side. And I said that I lost vision temporarily. Now I will say it again. Temporarily. You get it, the idea. I can't.
After 4 nights in the hospital, Nia was released into outpatient therapy, where she would begin the next several years of recovery. And all the while, Jason was there to help her. He committed himself to helping her study.
So I would spend about 8 hours in therapy each day, Monday through Friday, and then he will help me study. When I got home from therapy, I would take a nap, and he will practice with me. So one of the first things that we came proficient in was reading. So he will help me make my sounds, which progress to words and recognition. But when we will have children's books to practice my sounds. So Dr. Seuss, one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. So even now, he will correct me, or he will help me when I'm trying to get words out. So he's just been phenomenal and a rock, definitely.
Jason showed his love for Nia in other ways too. He was absolutely committed to her.
I remember him, one of his coworkers, because he was a manager at that time at his job, and one of his coworkers was a minister, and he came with his wife to my bedside and said some prayers, and this is the minister who married us 3 years later. But I remember Jason saying, "If you can say I do, we will get married right here in this bed." And I said, I don't want to do it like this, but nice sentiment, thank you. But
It was November of that year, 4 months after her stroke, that Nia came across a sewing machine that Jason's mother had given her a couple years before. It had been sitting there for the last 2 years.
I said, I remember I used to like sewing, and I said, maybe I will pick up pattern or something like that. So I was in Walmart and they had these patterns, and I bought a apron pattern, and I said when she comes up for Thanksgiving, maybe she can give me a lesson.
So on Black Friday that year, Nia and Jason's mom took a shopping trip together.
But she took me to Joann's Fabrics, gave me a tour, and I picked out my materials, and I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I said, oh, I just love this.
She was a little apprehensive about sewing the apron all by herself without the expert help of her future mother-in-law. But luckily, Jason had grown up around sewing.
He was able to help me for the more challenging parts. I couldn't understand all the directions, so he will help me understand them. I tore my fabric at one point, and I said, do I have to start over again? And he will help me prepare the error. And I just loved it.
Nia decided to take her sewing machine with her to the rehab center.
One of the patients, she had a very significant brain injury. She couldn't recall anything. So I will meet her one day, and I will always had to reintroduce myself every day. So I made a gift for her. She didn't like her clothes, and remember we were having lunch, and she was wearing sweatpants. They were white, and she spilled red punch on them. And I said, oh, I will make her a skirt and just surprise her. So I went on this fact-finding mission to find out her size and all those things. And I make her a skirt, and she was my best friend from therapy. Still to this day, we are friends.
She fell in love with the process of sewing, and she also realized that sewing was providing a lot of therapeutic benefits for her.
It was the hand dexterity, cutting the fabric, feeling the fabric, guiding the fabric. Now I can have some sensation in my right hand. And I definitely attribute this to sewing. And then the logic, my interpretation of the drawings, to the visual learning with the written word. These were some of the major takeaways for me.
She got so many benefits and so much joy from sewing that she hatched an idea. Maybe other brain injury patients could use sewing in their recovery too.
So I put together a sewing program with a budget. And this was after I graduated from PATE. I requested a meeting with the staff, and I wanted to pitch my idea of sewing for patients. And they loved it. So for me, it was also a mode of speech therapy. So I was able to pilot my program at PATE, and this also turned into a nonprofit that I created called So Happy Foundation, SDEW, So Happy Foundation.
Nia began teaching other patients with brain injuries how to sew.
We made lazy pants, comfy pants, and it took us like 8 weeks to do it. Twice a week. But I borrowed my mother-in-law's model. We went to the Joann's because I remember feeling so overwhelmed initially at Joann's, just because the sensory overload for me. And with my brain still fresh from my injury, I would get very tired. Even going up to the counter to cut my fabric, I found so much joy in that because I was able to communicate. Even though sometimes couldn't get out the words I would have to communicate on the fly. Pictures, a pattern, I'm making this. I don't know how much fabric to get. And the people were so nice. And they didn't know what happened to me, but they were so nice to help me.
Nia loved being able to guide people through this experience. She was a natural teacher.
Back in college, I was a part-time aerobics instructor. And I said, and now I have the best of both worlds. Fitness, teaching, and engineering all in one. So I wanted to, I gravitate naturally to those roles.
Nia remembers one patient who decided she didn't want to make the comfy pants for the class.
Stroke patients are so unique because, like we said, there's no two bodies are the same, no two brains are the same. So she had some speech problems. She was right hand dominant, but at that point, her arm was frozen. So she had no mobility. So she said, I want to have an apron at home. So I have a phone call or something. I can't carry it. I wanted to have it close by. So we designed an apron for her. And that was such a proud moment.
This patient that Nia taught, she had sewn in the past. In fact, as a young woman, she'd sewn her own clothes for school, made clothes for her daughter. So Nia helped her to recover that skill.
She was such an inspiration to me. And so for that particular case, when she was with me, I will be her right hand for guiding the fabric through the machine. And she would use her left hand and the foot pedal to make her apron. And to this day, she came to our wedding. And at that time, that was like 2 or 3 years later, she was able to walk without the cane. She was, her speech is much stronger. She was able to, her arm was no longer frozen. So it's so empowering to see that story of triumph.
Ultimately, Nia decided to return to school and study pattern making and apparel design. She's already completed her pattern making degree and was just about to finish her apparel degree when we spoke. That journey wasn't easy for her either.
Those first few semesters, oh, they were so hard. My first semester in pattern making, I remember coming home one day and saying to Jason, I don't know if I can make this. This is so hard. I don't understand my book. This is harder than any engineering that I have ever done.
But she kept in mind what her mother had taught her, to always do her best.
And I said, can I really keep up with this pace? So I combined it in my teachers, right? I had this injury. Maybe I need a little bit more time. But I said, and when I started out there on this journey, I said, I'm going to get my straight A's because that is my best. B's are not my best. C's are not my best. A's are my best. And I will overcome my brain injury. I will overcome it all because I'm doing my very best.
Now, Nia also gives speeches to recovering patients. She wants them to know that the journey is hard, but it's worth it.
I will say that all the people that I meet who have brain injuries, they want a fast recovery. I wanted a fast recovery. And for me, it's almost, 6-7 years later, and I have worked so hard, but still I try not to compare myself to then to now, I would say that it was so hard for me initially to accept I will not have the same career that I had before. It's too sad.
Instead of reaching to return to her old life, Nia believes that the key is in the simple lesson that her mom taught her, that growth mindset that told her not to get discouraged by the past, but to look at how much she could do right now.
Initially, my focus was just to get back to my job and career. And once I embraced that maybe I will not get back to my career that I worked so hard to build, once I truly embraced that fact, and I said, this is life, it's a different life, but it can be a so happy life once again. Once I embraced that, then I was able to really heal. And then I said, oh, so now I can try to find a niche that I can excel at and do my best. Always do your best. Yeah. So even when I was reading those Dr. Seuss books and I was tired and I couldn't get the words out, and I said, in my mind, I always heard my mom say, just try your best and don't settle for second best. So I knew that I wanted to do better, but I also took the time to acknowledge what better meant, what my best meant for that particular day.
All of us feel like we're rushing towards improvement in some way. Maybe you want to get better at sewing, or maybe you want to build a career or improve a relationship or get healthier. Nia's simple message is to stop getting discouraged by how far away your goals are. Just focus on your best right now.
I would say this recovery is not a sprint. It will never happen as quickly as you would like for it to happen. Just embrace each day as a gift, because it's not promised to anyone.
That was Nia Kelley, and you can find her at designer_Nia on Instagram, and Nia is spelled N-I-A, or at the So Happy Foundation website. Nia's dream for the nonprofit is to create a space for brain injury patients to sew garments to donate to women in shelters. You can learn more at sewhappyfoundation.org. That's so, S-E-W, happyfoundation.org. Seamwork Radio is brought to you by the Seamwork community, and you can find us at seamwork.com. If you have a story to share, send us an email at podcast@seamwork.com. We'd especially love to hear stories from those whose experiences often get left out of the conversation, whether because of race, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, age, or any other reason. Again, that's podcast@seamwork.com. You can find us on Instagram at Seamwork and Seamwork Video on YouTube. We'd love to invite you to join us at seamwork.com. We have an amazing community there, as well as new sewing patterns and classes each month for members. Podcast listeners can get 50% off our unlimited membership, which gets you unlimited downloads from our library of over 150 wardrobe-building sewing patterns. Just visit seamwork.com/go/podcast50. You can also find that link in the show notes. And if you like this podcast, please consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or the podcast app of your choice. It really helps other people to find the show so they can hear these stories too. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back with you soon. I'm Sarai Mitnick, and this is Seamwork Radio.